Recently, within the last week or so, stories have been coming out about what's called the silver tsunami, and that is the transition of businesses that is anticipated within the next 5 to 10 years. Hello, and welcome back to the Bridging the Divide podcast. Today, I've got a great theme to talk to you about. When I travel throughout the country, one of the things I'm constantly being asked about is, Rolando, how do I make the next Facebook? How do I get going on the next Google? How do I make that next big tech company? And I understand why there's a level of energy and excitement and desire to participate in that. It's sexy, right? It's You see the billions of dollars that are being talked about on television 24/7. You see the excitement. We know the names of the companies. We know the names of the founders. We know their story, and we all, aspire to be in that ethos, in that ecosystem. But here are the facts. Vast majority of businesses that hold up the American economy are actually small businesses, mom and pop, your local restaurant, your local deli, your local hardware store, your local gas station. Those are the folks that are actually holding up the American economy. Recently, within the last week or so, stories have been coming out about what's called the silver tsunami, and that is the transition of businesses that is anticipated within the next 5 to 10 years. Where we're at right now is about 2.3 to 3 million small businesses are on their way to being transitioned from baby boomers, and the problem is that due to retirement, they want to get out of business. They want to transition. They've paid their dues. They've built something out. But the problem is they don't have anyone to transition it to. And so because of that, there is grave concern that this is going to have massive impacts throughout the national economy. Right? If Facebook goes down, if Google goes down, sure, it would have an impact in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco Bay Area. Sure, there may be some other, you know, uh, uh, aspects of negative impact that may occur in other parts of the country. But the reality of it is that there is a bigger impact to your community if the local hardware store, the local restaurant, the local gas station go down. Well, but why? And the reason is simple. These small business owners employ roughly about 32 million people and generate nearly $6.5 trillion in revenue every single year, making them very clearly a massive part of the American economic backbone that without we would have great, great negative reverberations throughout the country. Right. So think of it that way. So we are here on the Bridging the Divide podcast, right? A podcast that I've talked to you many a times about is about bridging the economic divide. I've always said the cavalry's not coming. We have to figure it out ourselves. And although we have to continue on the advocacy side, that doesn't mean that there aren't things that we can't do for ourselves to create these opportunities. So what does that mean to all of you aspiring small business owners? Well, what it means to me is that never has it been easier for us to start the concept of a small business because there's literally going to be a demand within the next 5 and 10 years. We are going to be on a pathway where if we don't step up and fill in those gaps, whether it be by absorbing these businesses by making offers and trying to purchase them, or making our own versions of those businesses, never has it been clearer that there is going to be a demand for what it is that you're doing. Okay. So, in other words, what I'm doing here is I'm kind of forecasting for you. I'm giving you the heads up that there is this what they call the silver tsunami. To me, is nothing more than a massive economic opportunity for those of you wondering whether it's the right time or not. As I've said in the past, to me, the right time is now. always, because the sooner you start, the more you do, the better versed you are on the subject matter, and the better able you are to take advantage of good economic opportunities. So, what does this mean? Well, in the next 5 to 10 years, the 2.3 million to 3 million small businesses that are going to transition are either going to die, which is going to create a massive demand in those communities, or are going to be sold off to someone else that recognizes the opportunity. So, in other words, you are literally in an environment where the market is demanding and begging that we step into that potential void and create and absorb those opportunities. Right. Today's show is not about, what is it about what I've done in my career. Today's show is really signaling for small business owners the fact that we are at a moment of opportunity. Yes, things are feeling chaotic right now. Yes, you may not feel that you're ready. Yes, you may not feel that you have enough financing, but here are the facts. Whomever closes that bridge, that divide, and recognizes that we are walking into an environment of prosperity and economic growth in the small business sector is going to reap the benefits of that forecasting. Because very often in business, what I have found in my experience has been that the more chaotic things are, the more opportunities present themselves so long as you're looking. So long as you're looking. So tonight, as I, record this podcast, I say to you that are thinking about being in business, this is your time. This is 100% your time. 2.3 to 3 million businesses are going to either die or some of them are going to transition over. Why can't it be you that absorbs that transition or steps into that transition with your own version of these businesses? Right? You can't say that the opportunities aren't there. The opportunity is absolutely there. You just have to want it. You just have to uh, put your plan in motion now. The sooner you start working and working these things out, the more likely it is that you can take advantage of that opportunity. And let me give you an example. For example, myself, I'm already paying attention and talking to folks who are in that phase of their lives, looking at different industries and asking myself, is this an industry I can see myself participating in, and also having light conversations about whether or not a particular business that does a particular function is something that I may be interested in acquiring. I'm already having those conversations. Although the forecast says the next 5 to 10 years, the reality is that those opportunities are already presenting themselves. So today's podcast is really about giving you a little bit of a glimpse. This is not anything insider that I have am privy to. This is an example of using what's in the news out there uh, as data points to let you know what directions to take, where to invest, and how to move. And when I read this, I immediately said to myself, I need to have this I need to talk about this on the podcast because undoubtedly what the concern of 2.3 to 3 million businesses disappearing and taking with them trillions of dollars of revenue and 32 million jobs, as alarming as it sounds, as alarming as it sounds, if you are a true entrepreneur, you see the opportunity in that. And I think that's my takeaway for you tonight, that when you're out there researching and reading, read from a strategic view, right? Read because you're trying to really glean where the opportunities are. You may not have a Bloomberg terminal to tell you how things are moving, but you do have the internet. You do have the paper. I still like to read the paper like old school fashion. Um, but you still have the paper. You still have business news. You still have different points of information that you can be on the constant search for to help you determine what direction to take. So they call it the silver tsunami. I call it the silver wave of opportunity for all of you thinking of being in business, thinking of starting a business, thinking of buying a business, a small business. It is, from my vantage point, nothing but opportunity for all of us out there that are thinking that way. All right, folks, thank you for listening. I'll see you next week.